Frequently asked questions on BBBY's stock forecast. Is Bed Bath & Beyond stock a good buy? The consensus among 16 Wall Street analysts covering NASDAQ, BBBY, stock is to sell BBBY stock. Out of 16 analysts, 0% are recommending BBBY as a strong buy, 0% are recommending BBBY as a buy, 31.25% are recommending BBBY as a hold, 25% are recommending BBBY as a sell, and 43.75% are recommending BBBY as a strong sell. What is BBBY's price target? According to 15 Wall Street analysts that have issued a one-year BBBY price target, the average BBBY price target is $8, with the highest BBBY stock price forecast at $23 and the lowest BBBY stock price forecast at $1. On average, Wall Street analysts predict that Bed Bath & Beyond's share price could fall to $8 by August 18, 2023. The average Bed Bath & Beyond stock price prediction forecasts a potential downside of 25.23% from the current BBBY share price of $10.70. What is BBBY's earnings growth forecast for 2023 to 2025? NASDAQ, BBBY, Bed Bath & Beyond's forecast annual earnings growth rate of NA is not forecast to beat the U.S. specialty retail industry's average forecast earnings growth rate of 3.35%, and while it is not forecast to beat the U.S. market's average forecast earnings growth rate of 16%. Bed Bath & Beyond's earnings in 2022 is $866,415,000. On average, 9 Wall Street analysts forecast BBBY's earnings for 2023 to be -$486,142,506, with the lowest BBBY earnings forecast at -$581,292,108, and the highest BBBY earnings forecast at -$382,997,139. On average, 9 Wall Street analysts forecast BBBY's earnings for 2024 to be -$271,856,007, with the lowest BBBY earnings forecast at -$383,796,715, and the highest BBBY earnings forecast at -$59,168,660. In 2025, BBBY is forecast to generate $-148,721,227 in earnings, with the lowest earnings forecast at $-251,866,594 and the highest earnings forecast at $27,985,177. What is BBBY's earnings per share, EPS, forecast for 2023 to 2025? NASDAQ, BBBY, Bed Bath & Beyond's current earnings per share, EPS, is -$9.73. On average, analysts forecast that BBBY's EPS will be -$6.08 for 2023, with the lowest EPS forecast at -$7.27, and the highest EPS forecast at -$4.79. On average, analysts forecast that BBBY's EPS will be -$3.40 for 2024, with the lowest EPS forecast at -$4.80, and the highest EPS forecast at -$0.74. In 2025, BBBY's EPS is forecast to hit -$1.86, min, -$3.15, max, 35 cents. What is BBBY's forecast return on assets, ROA, for 2023 to 2025? NASDAQ, BBBY, forecast ROA is -3.01%, which is lower than the forecast U.S. specialty retail industry average of 16.58%. What is BBBY's forecast return on equity, ROE, for 2023 to 2025? NASDAQ, BBBY, forecast ROE is NA, which is considered weak. What is BBBY's revenue growth forecast for 2023 to 2025? NASDAQ, BBBY, Bed Bath & Beyond's forecast annual revenue growth rate of -3.31% is not forecast to beat the U.S. specialty retail industry's average forecast revenue growth rate of 7.64%, and while it is not forecast to beat the U.S. market's average forecast revenue growth rate of 8.21%. Bed Bath & Beyond's revenue in 2022 is $7,377,384,000. On average, 8 Wall Street analysts forecast BBBY's revenue for 2023 to be $515,897,305,758, with the lowest BBBY revenue forecast at $508,2,927,157, and the highest BBBY revenue forecast at $528,143,459,363. On average, 8 Wall Street analysts forecast BBBY's revenue for 2024 to be $518,840,386,902, with the lowest BBBY revenue forecast at $485,518,836,258, and the highest BBBY revenue forecast at $548,507,738,951. In 2025, BBBY is forecast to generate $539,257,812,447 in revenue, with the lowest revenue forecast at $506,586,077,616 and the highest revenue forecast at $564,445,031,586.